I decided to do this really quick video on sex. So let's talk about sex. You guys remember that song? Well, I remember that song. I'm a little bit older than some of you, but there used to be a song out there. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Well, one of the things that I don't think we do enough of in the Christian community, especially as Christian singles, is talk about sex. It might seem like an odd topic, um, but in reality, it's not. Like, why would that be odd? God created us to be sexual creatures and sexual beings, and we should talk about that. So, this particular video are for Christians who are single and who are saving themselves for marriage because they are trying to align themselves with biblical principles. If that is not you, this video is not for you, and I'm not going to be offended. So, you don't have to be offended if these things that I'm talking about today don't apply to you if you are not a Christian single who is trying to align their life with biblical principles. So, let me just say that. So, I got a question the other day that said, when do you think we should talk about sex as a Christian single? And I thought about it and I had a couple different ideas, but I wanted to share them with you. First of all, one of the very first things I think you should talk about is sex as a Christian single. I'm going to let you marinate on that a little bit because that might seem a little weird, right? Why would you talk about sex so early in a Christian relationship? Because if you are celibate, meaning you are not planning on having sex until you are married, you need to have that discussion up front. Lay the foundation. If you're on dating apps, put it out there. I am celibate. Why? Because then those who are looking for something else are not going to be in in your inbox. They're not going to be texting you. They're not going to be sending you nasty pictures. You set that, lay that foundation, set that limit, set that boundary up front. I am celibate. I do not plan on having sex with anyone until I am married. That's why excuse me, that's why I say you should talk about it up front. Get it out of the way. There's no confusion. There's nothing to be afraid about. Um, it's a normal part of life, right? And it's just not a part of life that you are wanting or ready to experience, and that's okay. While I am speaking on the subject, I do have to remind people, and I have to remind church ministry leaders if you're watching this, singles ministry leaders if you're watching this, because I think I'm going to share this out in a couple different places, but not enough people in the church have healthy communication around sex other than don't do it. Going to tell you how to fight your urges, doesn't talk to you about how to set healthy boundaries, and it doesn't address people who have been sexually active in the past and or divorced or married or widowed or none of those things. There are Christian singles who are single parents and they've experienced sex before and a life that was filled with that possibly, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, you know don't do it and don't talk about it, and it's sin. That's all we know. So I think it's important to have and create safe spaces within church communities, within singles groups, to have full discussion about that. So the other part of the question that I was asked was, so okay, I'm dating someone, we're interested in one another, and when should I bring it up again? We're looking at getting married. Do we talk about it? How do we address that? And the person said to me, like, I have some needs that I want to make sure they're able to meet. So I thought about it and I said, honestly, absolutely. Talk about sex before you're married. That is wise. What is unwise is having that conversation at 10 p.m. at night while you're in the bed and you're video chatting. That's not wise. What's not wise is having the sex conversation when the two of you are alone and you are sitting on the couch together or holding hands. That's not wise. The wisest way, again, this video is for Christian singles who want to align themselves with biblical principles and are practicing celibacy. If this is not you, this video does not apply to you. Okay? Um, but with that being said, there is a good time to talk about that. And you should do that before you get married. And you should do that with a premarital counselor, a independent party, someone who is knowledgeable, not necessarily your pastor, not necessarily your singles leader, but a licensed professional who can walk you through this. I'm Prepare Enrich certified. So a Prepare Enrich certified premarital counselor can walk you through that. Why? Because there's a full assessment that you do when you're getting to that engagement stage and we walk you through that. What are your strength area as a couple, as an individual? What are your areas of growth? And we talk about finances, children, money, all of those things. So I personally recommend Prepare Enrich. One, I'm a little biased. I'm a facilitator, so I'm familiar with that assessment. But for those couples who do that before they get married, it is so helpful. You avoid a lot of difficult conversations later on that you should have had before you got married, right? Because why have all these conversations later and then you feel like, oh my God, I'm stuck? Let's have these conversations ahead of time, put in a good game plan to address those things so that you can have a healthy communication about sex within your marriage. Um, that's what I would say. Let me check and see if there's any questions that I can see, because sometimes I'm not able to see questions. Um, so yes, Latoya says, I agree. He needs to know my expectations and standards. Absolutely. Because if you don't set those expectations and standards ahead of time, then you'll find yourself doing more than what you wanted to do, feeling compromised, feeling not heard, feeling not loved, feeling, you know, unwanted, even perhaps. So I think it's important to make sure you're having these conversations ahead of time. Absolutely. So, all right. I hope this was helpful for you. Um, if you are not in my private Facebook community, Single and Faithfully Expecting, I invite you to join us in our private community. If you are, I'm happy that you are with us, and be on the lookout for more videos surrounding important topics for Christian singles. Take care.